Hello students, welcome to Leela's tutorial. So in last class we have discussed about ethical concerns and GEAC, which is responsible for approval of genetically modified organisms. So one of you asked about the complete information of GEAC. So let us see today. GEAC is Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee. It is India's apex biotechnology approval or appraisal committee. Right? It is a statutory committee which functions under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climatic Changes. So first, let us see about the functions. What are the functions of GEAC? Main thing is it gives the approval or it assesses the validity of the research. Up to what extent the genetically modified organisms are safe for the human. Right? So the first one is, in first assessment they check for the large scale use of hazardous microorganisms. Right? At two, they will assess what is the extent of usage of these hazardous microorganisms and what is their effect on the environment. Right? Then in second one, it is a recombination in research. What is the rate of recombination of the genome? Right? You are recombining in case of transgenic animals or genetically modified animals. You are recombining the different genomes of the organisms to produce a new microorganism or then genetically modified animal. Right? So when you release that into the environment, what is the effect? That will be assessed in the recombination in research. Then next one is industrial production affecting the environment. So here, by using the genetically modified organisms, you are going to produce some commercial products, right? So what is the rate of effect of that product on the human consumption, and also what is the effect on the environment, which is the industrial waste which is released into the water bodies or the soil. So that will be assessed in this one. Then next one is experimental field trials of genetically modified organisms. Though they have produced these genetically modified organisms for the sake of human, but also during these trials there may be some negative effects. Right? So that also it will be assessed by this GEAC committee. Then next one is use of living GMOs. Right? So the genetically modified organisms which are produced, they may be used as edible vaccines, or they may be used, the live organisms may be used in pharmaceutical industries also. So here they will check for the safety of that medicine or safety of that living organisms which is consumed in terms of drugs or any vaccines. Right? Then next one here, after assessing all these, right, what is this GEAC? It is having assessment and also analyzing what is the effect on the environment and what is the use of that genetically modified organism also. Right? So based on those assessments, right, based on those appraisals, here the GEAC can take a punctive action against the people and also the complete industry where the research is going on. Right? Apart from that, after they produce a genetically modified organism, it is must that they are supposed to take a compulsory approval from this GEAC committee. Right? So what is responsible? Why after producing the GMO, why they have to take this approval from GEAC? Right? Because due to these effects on the environment. So let us see the environmental consequences of genetically modified organisms. How these genetically modified organisms are affecting our environment. Right? So in order to avoid these effects, the GEAC has put forth all these rules. Right? So let us see what is the first consequence on the environment. It is loss of biodiversity. Right? Within a particular region or the habitat, the animals, they interact. Right? If you are introducing a new genetically modified organism, there may be loss of interaction or there may be a loss of biodiversity or decrease in biodiversity. Right? Because of which there may be extinction of endangered animals can be done, right? So next one is increased allergic reactions in humans. If it is an edible, so here we have seen, if it is an edible vaccine or anything, or a genetically modified organism which is used as food in the humans, that may cause certain allergic reactions due to that introduced target gene, right? Then next one is the toxic effects. So here, for example, you are producing a genetically modified animal so that it will produce increased amount of milk or increased protein in their milk or in the egg in case of chicken, right? So here that increased protein or any other substance may be toxic to the human. What is the tolerant level? If they are increasing the size of that particular organism, that means they are increasing the hormones in that. So if the person or the human is intaking that hormones may be harmful to them, right? So they will check for the toxic effects. Then next harmful consequences, change in animal behavior. So as you are introducing a foreign gene of interest, either it may be a knockout or knock-in, right? What is happening here? The behavior of the animal is changing. That means they are becoming more aggressive, right? So like that, some behavior changes are observed in those genetically modified animals. Then next one is change in physical nature. That means here, if you are giving increased hormonal or increased size of the organism is your target. So what you do? You introduce the gene so that the growth hormones are very high in that. So because of that, the physical nature or the physical morphology of that animal is changing, right? For example, in case of fishes, where the size of normal fish is increased 2 to 4 times, because of which the increased sized fishes are losing their ability to swim, right? So like that, you are changing the physical nature of genetically modified organisms. Otherwise, change in wild stock genome. That means the wild variety genome is getting changed, which can be reverted or which may not be reverted back. For example, you are producing a genetically modified mosquito. So what is the use there? The male mosquito are made sterile. So when they mate with the female mosquitoes, the eggs which are produced, they are not able to hatch to produce a progeny, so that you can stop the mosquito production, right? But what is happening? This can be done only in that particular region. What about the worldwide mosquitoes which are present? Again, the male fertile mosquitoes may occupy that place, right? So that means it is waste of doing that research only in that particular region, right? Then another one is competitive environment between genetically modified organisms and the wild type. So once you produce genetically modified organism and release it into the ocean, for example fishes, what happens? Their habitat, the food and the shelter may be different from the wild type animals, right? So here they may not interact between the genetically modified and the wild type animals, so that there may be a competition between them and any one of these species may be lost, right? Then next one is increased food habit. So here, as you are making these genetically modified organisms to increase in their size, there may be increased food intake also. If they are having the complete resource of food completely, what about the other animals, the wild type animals? They may starve for food, right? Then next one is decreased lifespan. We know that the genetically modified animals or cloned animals, they are having very short lifespan, right? Due to poor development of internal organs. So because of this, what happens? Before they attain the maturity, their lifespan will end. They will die before the maturity, right? So there is no progeny. So as the progeny is lost, there is no progeny, there may be extinction of these animals. They become endangered, then they disappear from the environment, right? Then finally, coming to the disposal of genetically microorganisms after death. So though they do the research, right? So they have done the research, and also it is beneficial to the human and also not harmful to the environment. But what happens after its death? Right? The genetically modified organism, when it is disposed in soil after death, the genes which are present, right, the transgenes which may be antibiotic resistant or some other resistant genes, they may get integrated into the bacteria which are present in the soil, and those bacteria may become antibiotic resistant and may cause infectious diseases in human, right? So in keeping all these in mind, this GEAC has put forth all these rules, so that after inspecting or after assessing all these qualities only, this GEAC will give approval to the organizations. So main thing is GEAC regulates the use of genetically modified organisms, their manufacture, their storage, import, export, right, of those organisms in India. It is not only of genetically modified organisms but also of harmful and hazardous organisms, and also genetically modified cells also in case of animal tissue culture. So everything will be checked by this GEAC, and then they give approval for the use of or release of these GMOs into the market. Is that clear? If you have any doubts, put it in comments. Subscribe for further videos.